As a matter of fact, in Detroit, when Kwame Kilpatrick was the mayor, and we were there trying to start a black economic enclave, which Kwame Kilpatrick and a couple of black council people turned down and criticized as racist and separatists in a city that's 85 to 90% black, that has Koreatown, Greek town, Polish town, even a hockey town, which they're going to build now a $400 million hockey stadium in Detroit. They complained about having a black town. They said, oh, that's scary and that's racist. Those were the words they used: divisive, scary, and racist. And it wouldn't include everybody. It would just be for African. How silly is that? How silly are we? Even when we are running things politically, as Dr. Claude Anderson said, we can't even do wrong right. We're running things in a city that's almost 100% black, that has every other kind of town in it, Greek town, Chinatown, every town, and don't go over to Dearborn and see that the Arabs are running that. Why would you say, as a black politician or a black anything, that if there's a black town in Detroit, that it's scary and it's divisive? Now that tells me one of two things: you just as ignorant as the day is long, or somebody's paying you some money to keep black folks in their place. Because in spite of all of the job opportunities and business opportunities that would have come from this economic enclave, you opted as a black politician to say, oh, we can't do that. But we can have an entertainment section. Let's bring in some consultants and let them develop an entertainment section. We're going to call it Paradise Valley. Now, some of you who are familiar with the history of Detroit, you remember Black Bottom. And again, that name didn't come from because black people lived there. It came from the dirt from the river and the silt that came up. The river had some drainage channels there or something. And when it, I guess, came to the shore or whatever it is, it was black. Real black. And it was called the bottom, where the river would drain out. You know, you can do your research on it, but it wasn't called Black Bottom because of black people. But black people lived there. And at one time, there were some 350 black businesses in Black Bottom. And then along came the expressway, I-75, and urban renewal. And as I said on the radio, it was known in some circles as Negro removal. And we saw it happen here in Cincinnati too, down in the West End. But it wiped out, it started the process of wiping out the Black Bottom. And then the developers came in, tore it down, and what did they build? Now remember, at one time there were 350 black businesses there. Does that bring to mind Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood District, 600 black businesses? Same thing happened out there, including the riot where people were killed. But in Detroit, they tore all of it down, drove the expressway through it, and ended up building some residential housing there. No economic development there, except for the developers. No businesses, housing. And here in Detroit in 2004, we were there saying, look, let's have another Black Bottom. Let's have another section of town where black businesses flourish, where black people can own where they live and work where they live and all those positive things. And the black people on council, all but two, Joanne Watson and Kwame Kenyatta, who were on city council, were not for. Some person named Cockrell, I think it was a lady, and then another lady named Kay Everett. And just to show you how silly we are, I want to read a quote from Kay Everett, who was against this project. She voted against the plan, and she made her point by saying, Powernomics, which is a concept that Dr. Claude Anderson came up with, and Claude is from Detroit, and he wanted to go back and do something positive in his city, right? Bring this this economic enclave to fruition. She said, Powernomics, a proposal for increasing African American employment in the city, is a suicidal form of reverse racism and a bad deal for Detroit. This is a black person talking, a black councilwoman. She went on to say, the African Town proposal, Claude didn't name it African Town, but I think that's a nice name for it. He named it Maroon City. But she said the African Town proposal is racist in that it excludes other races to the perceived benefit of Detroit African Americans. It's a black person talking, y'all, a black politician. She goes on to say the proposal is detrimental to the interests of Detroit and Southeast Michigan. Detrimental, racist, terrible thing for us to have a section in a city that's 90% black to call it Africa Town or call it Maroon City or just say that black people have businesses here. That's racist. In spite of the fact that there's Greek Town, Chinatown, Polish Town, all these other towns in Detroit, Mexican Town, everything. Finally, here's the kicker. Miss Everett said, Africa Town will actually create a negative environment that will drive businesses from Detroit and create a climate of fear that will eliminate Detroit from serious consideration as a location to develop or grow a business. She concluded by saying, I am not a hyphenated American. I am an American. This council needs to understand that so we can make decisions that don't make Detroit an American embarrassment. This came out of the mouth of a black politician on council in Detroit in 2005. Now, we don't want to make Detroit a national embarrassment. What is it now? What is it now? They didn't implement the Africa Town approach. They didn't follow through on developing a black enclave. They came up with this concept, well, let's have an entertainment district, not owned by black people, but as long as we keep black people singing and dancing and telling jokes, hey, they'll be fine. They came up with that. They didn't implement it, but that was the path they were on back then. She makes a comment like this. We don't want to be a national embarrassment. What in the world are they now? Now, I'm looking for Detroit to bounce back. Kevin Orr is the new emergency manager. He's a brother, and I hope he does well. I hope the city comes back. But can you imagine 10 years ago, black people under Kwame Kilpatrick, we all know his history now, he voted against it as well. He said it was scary and divisive. They even related this to Hitler's Mein Kampf in the newspaper there. How in the world do we buy into anything like that when it comes to our own economic prosperity? We would deny it. As David Walker said, I can't understand why black people will go against their own best interests all the time. Even when we're in the vast majority of a city, we opt to hurt ourselves and to hurt our children's future. That's amazing to me that she said that. I couldn't believe that she said that. And it was in the newspaper. So we're sometimes our own worst enemy when it comes to economic empowerment and business development for ourselves. Dr. Michael Porter, I like to quote him, and he said, the economic distress of America's inner cities may be the most pressing issue facing this nation. And he goes on to say, the question we should be asking is how inner city-based businesses and nearby employment opportunities for inner city residents can proliferate and grow. A sustainable economic base can be created in the inner city, but only as it has been created elsewhere, through private, for-profit initiatives and investments based on economic self-interest and genuine competitive advantage. Now, where do black people have competitive advantage if not the fish market? if not fried chicken. And who are we buying it from now? Self-interest, economic self-interest. I always tell you politics is about self-interest as well. Economics is about self-interest. This comes from Michael Porter. And then having a genuine competitive advantage. If you have a competitive advantage if you're dominating the market and buying more of a product, indexing higher for products than other groups are. You have a competitive advantage. Are we taking advantage of that? Not by a long shot. Not by a long shot. So we really need to understand the climate that we're in and what our young people are facing. Hugh Price, who used to run the Urban League, he wrote a proposal to develop the economic health, to grow the economic health of black neighborhoods in America. And he said, promoting economic development means that all of our children must understand and become comfortable with entrepreneurship. Too many of them have an unrealistic sense of the way things work and just don't know what their possibilities are. We must help them understand that they can earn a decent and honorable living through operating very small businesses.